saying as CEO of Speechify, what's the most difficult decision you've encountered, and how did you approach it?
So number one most difficult decision, personally, and I guess I wasn't the CEO of Speechify yet, was choosing to not have a job when I graduated college. And so what I had to do is like navigate around it. The second one is who to hire and who to fire and when. Firing people is extremely difficult. It's one of the most important things that you can do. So you have to be able to identify and let people go quickly if it's appropriate. Yeah?
Yeah, so I have two questions. One was, what would you suggest to get the most out of 4 years of college?
Yeah.
And the other one was, who are your biggest mentors at Brown?
Great. Ooh, at Brown. Okay.
While you were at Brown.
Great. So 2 questions. How to get the most and mentors. How to get the most out of your 4 years in college. The first thing to do is get to know everybody. The most effective way of doing that I found is during the first 3 weeks that I was at Brown, I would go to the Ratty every day and have 3 dinners. I would take a plate, put it in a table of 7 people I didn't know intentionally. It's, hi, Cliff, what's your name, blah, blah, blah. And I'd get to know people, and I'd ask them the questions that I said before. And then I'd get everybody's phone number at the end, so if I went to a party, I could invite them. And then when everybody finished, I'd take another plate, sit with another 7 people I didn't know, and get to know them. And then I'd grab a cup of tea and join another table with 7 people I didn't know. Hi, can I join you guys? Sure. OK, great. What's your name? I'm Ben. Nice to meet you. I got to know like 45% of my grade in the first 3 weeks at Brown, and then ended up being part of a lot of groups, but also self-selected the people who I enjoyed spending time with the most. When you find someone who you're really excited about, find opportunities to spend more time with them. Found a company together, do a project together, or invite them to be your gym buddy. Everybody needs to go to the gym, and it gives you an excuse to do something together for 45 minutes where you talk. So when I met Mike Stoich for the first time, who was one of my best friends at Brown, but also like we mentor each other a lot, I was like, hey, you want to come to the gym? And then we just made it a regular thing, and we grabbed dinner afterwards every day. Same thing for Valentin Perez, if you know him. And then Valentin and I would go and sit with people who we didn't know. Prioritize those interactions with other people way over classes. They're the most valuable thing that exists here. Like this place is valuable because of the people, not because of the classes. Work on side projects and make time for doing that. If that is what gives you energy, if something else gives you energy, go and do that. Take classes that interest you and pick the professor, right? So it's a waste of time to take a class, even if the topic is good, if the professor is not great. You can learn anything online. So find professors when you hear them speak, you get excited, and who you admire, and go take classes with them. I recommend Mark Blythe. He's a jerk, but he's so smart.
Can you repeat that name?
Mark Blythe. He has a thick Scottish accent, and he's incredibly entertaining. He'll tell you about the book and the murderer. He's a professional comedian before he became a teacher. Super sharp. And then read books for pleasure and listen to audiobooks. And finally, in order to save time, use this app called Speechify. But seriously, take out your phones, download Speechify in the App Store, download it for the Mac, give it a 5-star review, tell your friends. Yeah?
You seem to really benefit from like knowing your way around people, like social engineering or just making friends with people. Do you always have that quality, or do you like kind of cultivate this afterwards?
When I was in preschool, I wrote a song called I Don't Have Any Friends and That Sucks. In like 3rd grade, I was bullied like pretty severely. And I like moved around a lot, so I was like the new kid in class. When I was in 8th grade, I moved to the United States and couldn't speak English properly and had a thick accent. And in high school, I was bored with all the kids that were around. And so most of my friends were people who I did parkour with, and my 4 younger siblings. And so until I got to Brown, I'd never found someone who was like very close and I like really was excited and admired. I'm lucky to today, all of my friends I admire with a passion. And anyone who knows me will tell you that I love telling people about other people and that they should get to know other people because they're awesome. And that was done very intentionally. And I got really good at it. And it was because, like everything else in life, I practiced. And so what I would do is I would do comfort challenges, so I would never be shy of talking to someone. One of my favorite books is How to Win Friends by Dale Carnegie. And I read that book a lot. And I genuinely care about people, and I ask questions, and I want to learn about them, and I know that there's awesomeness in every person. And even when I do interviews, normally you're like, oh, they're like trying to like ask me a question to like trip me up. No, the way I do interviews is I'm looking for an opportunity for you to make me think that you're awesome. And I like those are the questions. Like, what's the hardest things that you ever accomplished? What's the most impressive thing that you've ever done? Like, tell me about a time where you were able to learn something really quickly. So if I hire you, it will not be because you don't have any weaknesses. It's because you said something that really excited me and made me think that you're awesome. Ask those questions. Yeah, and smile at people. Yeah.
how would you say that you made time to work on side projects with having courses that are Brown and other?
Yeah. So, do you have any friends who are varsity athletes?
Yes.
Great. There's like people who are like studying biomedical engineering and are on the swim team. They take classes, they do homework, they go for practice 3 hours a day, and then they go to a game or a meet like every other weekend. They could do it, you could do it too. So, Brown's awesome. It has an open curriculum, right? You can't get pluses or minuses, so get 90%, 91% in all your classes. When you hit like junior, senior year, take whatever you want, pass, fail. It doesn't actually matter. I would work on projects and not work on class as much, and I would listen to Speechify to do my readings. And then right before a midterm, I'd switch, and I'd spend all my time on classes and very little on projects, and then I would switch and switch and switch. And I got a lot of work done on like break and over the summer. And I recruited other people to help me and work with me. And I would say, hey, let's meet at this point, this place at this time. And then we would do a work jam together for as long as possible. And anything else that could block them, I would be like their mom, and I'd fix it for them so that they could continue working with me if they had a skill I didn't have. And that's how you can make time. Yeah.
So one thing I struggle with is that there's a lot of things on campus that give me a lot of energy.
Great.
And I love putting time into them. But there's also things that I think about in the future that I think will give me energy, but that require like a path to get there, at least in my imagination.
Yes.
View that require a path to get there.
Yes.
Do you, and which don't give me energy, do me to get there, but I
Yeah.
still have to do them.
Yeah.
How do you choose to prioritize the things that give you energy, and do you ever take those paths that seem kind of boring that don't give you energy?
Often. Yeah. Super hard question to answer because you don't want to do the thing, right? So for me, coding does not give me energy. It sucks energy a lot for me, right? So I tried to code like all of high school and always failed and never succeeded, and then did my first 8 hackathons without knowing how to code. But I realized how valuable it was, so I enrolled myself in classes because I couldn't get myself to do it by myself. And then I got to the point where I could start teaching it myself online. And I just had to persevere through it, and it sucked. And I used other people to keep me accountable. Matt is really good at keeping me accountable often. So like, do use other people to keep you accountable. Writing patents suck. I tried to write a patent for board break for like ages and never got it done. Finally, I was like home. I had my mom drop me off at a Starbucks, and I told her, don't pick me up until it's done. And I spent the entire day there trying to write this patent. And finally, I did. And it's like the thing, I can't remember if I did. It's like the thing with the brick wall. You just keep going and going and going until you finally get it. You just have to build such a deep desire in you that it'll overcome any challenge that is in the way. But if you can, recruit someone else who does get energy from it to do it with you.
How do you figure out what gives you energy? What is your strategy?
That's a great question. So another thing that I should have talked about is the importance of being self-aware. And so one, I talk to other people about my life a lot, and I ask them questions so they talk about their life. And as I speak and as I explain, it forces me to understand how I feel. And you don't actively do that mental reflection unless you're actually speaking and writing. So speak and write often. And notice what you're saying. Like, listen to yourself. Surround yourself with people who get to know you really well. So like my girlfriend, sometimes I like sigh, she's like, Cliff, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing's wrong. And then like an hour later, I'm like, oh, this was wrong. And it's like, she like knows me better than I know myself, and she knows how to respond to things, and so that's really useful to me. Like read books that help you figure out like systems of how to understand yourself better, and seek out mentors. To answer your previous question that I didn't answer, the people who I admired the most at Brown were my friends at Brown. I actually didn't have many higher order mentors at Brown. The biggest mentors that I had were my friends that I made through books. Wow, I sound like such a nerd. I am. Right? So like all the people whose biographies that I read. After school, I did find a lot of mentors. And it's because I like never saw networking as like a thing I wanted to do. I just like went to make friends. But then I started developing the ability to like strategically network and like crash conferences and like convince people to like send me an intro to this person so that like we could have a meeting together. Okay?
You said develop the strength to do both things and not this other.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What is your strategy in the thought process?
Life is sometimes like a video game. Everything that you do, you get better at when you practice. So when you have the opportunity to hunt down a thief who stole your laptop, it might not be that worth it, but man, it'll teach you to persevere. So every time you have a situation like that, realize in your brain, is the amount of effort that I put into this worth the outcome? Probably not. Will it teach me how to persevere? Yes, so let's go do it. It's like enter into this video game and the simulation. And when you have a more important time to exercise your perseverance, you have the chance to do that. Do comfort challenges. Like if there's a cute girl that you see and you like chicken out from not going to talk to her, don't let that, or a cute guy, don't let that stop you. The first thing that I did when I had that problem is I would like go over to whatever friend was nearby and I was like, hey, you see that girl? She's so cute. And they're like, yeah, Cliff, why aren't you going to ask her out? And then I had to like justify myself. And so like I trained my friends to like make me go do stuff. And then I developed the ability to do that. So for example, if there's like a thing that I'm shy of, I'll do this thing where I'm like, okay, I want to do this thing, and my butt has to be out of the chair immediately with an opportunity to like go talk to like a famous speaker. My butt has to be out of my chair immediately, and don't think, just do it. It's like jumping into a cold pool. If you're afraid to talk to someone on the phone for an interview, just do it. Don't think, and then get there and be like, hi. And they'll be like, hi, and then you have to figure it out. And you might crash and burn and like realize that like the consequences aren't actually big, right? Do the thing that we talked about before where like you figure out the worst outcome and you actually see the truth and force yourself to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
When you come upon a new value or principle that you want to live by,
Yeah.
how do you find that you actually implement into your consistent daily actions that value?
Yeah. To be honest, most of my values come from things that I already do, and I realize that I do them, and then I codify them. And then in other situations where I realize that that is the situation that is happening, I optimize for the decisions that I already made in the past that made me happy. So for example, one of my principles is if in a short unit of time I can significantly improve somebody else's life, do it. Because it gives me energy every time that I do. Now sometimes I can't do it because something is happening, but every time that I can, I'll make the time to do that. That's why I'm here right now. And so I noticed that when talking to Nate Goodman on the phone, who reached out to me after a talk that I gave here last year. And so I added it to my list. And so now every time I have that opportunity, I follow that track. Sometimes there's things that I know I want to do but are hard, like going to sleep on time. And I try a bunch of different systems to make them happen. One of them is to have friends hold you accountable. So let's say when I started Speechify, I wanted to post it on 5 Facebook groups and 5 Reddit groups. It was a lot of work to like build the product to the point where I could do that and make a video. So I committed to my friend Chris Barber, who, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I would have a call with Chris 3 times a week for an hour. And we were both trying to figure out what we wanted to do in our life, and we just like exchange ideas and information. And like it forced me to talk. I'm not as good at writing. I'm better at talking, so it let me use that medium that I'm strong in. And when I wanted to do the thing with Speechify, I was like, Chris, I commit to you that by 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 3rd, I will post Speechify to 5 Facebook groups and 5 Reddit groups. And if I don't, I will run 10 miles by noon the next day. And then I was like, okay, cool, I committed to Chris. And then I'll open up Facebook Messenger, and I'll message Valentine, and Max, and Simmer, and Tyler, and all these other people that I respect. I'll say, hey, I commit that by this time I'll do this at this time, and if not, I'll have this consequence. And now my like reputation with them is on the line, and I care about what they think about me, realistically. So I want to show them that I get stuff done, so I do. Sometimes I fail. There was one point in my life where I got really good at running really long distances. Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you thought that you were like really passionate about something, and it turns out you weren't actually passionate about it? And how do you differentiate between what your genuine passions are versus like things that you kind of like think that you might be passionate about but aren't actually passionate about?
I guess like studying economics. Like I love economic principles. And I love thinking, I mean, you can tell by this talk, I codify everything. But sitting in econ class was not actually exciting, especially since I had a couple of dry professors. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do something else instead. I thought I would love being a product manager. It turns out it sucked. And I gauged how I felt, and I noticed the words that I was using and like my mood, and then I fixed it. It's very hard to do. Yeah.
I might have missed this because I came in a bit late, but how did you decide what you wanted to concentrate in? I know part of it was what you did have motivation.
Yep.
Was there any like other influences?
Yeah. So quickly, I usually want to have a plan and be open to updating that plan. So I came in thinking I wanted to study an independent concentration in renewable energy engineering and do a BA in economics. And it's because I thought renewable energy would add the most value to the world in the next 50 years. And then I realized that I was less interested in economics because it came easy, and CS was more useful but really hard, and I wouldn't learn it on my own, so I took some more CS classes. And then my independent concentration didn't get approved for the first 4 or 5 times that I applied finally got it approved. And that's what I concentrated in. But, interesting fact, I took classes in 16 different departments at Brown. The most useful classes that I took were philosophy classes. The best thing that I did was pick the professor, not the course. Use S&C. Your GPA doesn't really matter. What matters is what's in your brain and what you can actually do. Your GPA only matters if you're going to jobs that require you to be lazy because you're not making a decision, and then you go into investment banking or consulting because they're like inviting you, and they judge you by your GPA because you didn't actually work towards anything, and so the only thing they can judge you by is your GPA. But if you go and apply to a startup, you can have a 2.0 GPA and go to like whatever not like good college, but if you built a product, I have a friend called Brady. He's fucking awesome. Brady built a company that sold hundreds of thousands of girls' swimsuits and has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. I think he went to Arizona State, and I think that like his like marketing professor in high school tried to flunk him. So Brady, like, GPA doesn't matter. What matters is what you do. If Brady said, hey, Cliff, I want to work for Speechify, in a second I'll scoop him up because he knows what he's doing. Cool. All right, I'm going to stick around. Feel free to ask me any more questions. Thanks for coming out. Last question.